And we're live. It's a Wednesday. And today we have an incredible guest. Well, at least I think it's a bit of a objective statement to say that. But before before we get into that, if you're joining us this evening, don't forget to do the usuals, like, subscribe, and follow us across all social media platforms. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter at Sandman Sport. I'm Faina Crouch. I'll be your host this evening. And of course, our guest today is a young superstar in the making, Amile Duma, who I met myself and Moho had met at the Engine Knockout Challenge in KZN, where he had been a commentator. Um, a women's football game. That is where I saw you in action first, and that was quite striking for you to, for a male voice to be not just telling us the story of women's football, but cheering them on as well. Amile, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this evening. How have you been since the Asian Knockout Challenge, which I think was when in June, July?
End of end of June, yeah.
Yeah,
End of June, around the 30th, 29th, somewhere there.
yeah. But I mean, I think aside from the diary you had, which stood out, it sparked my interest. Where you had your notes in, um, I think what sparked interest around us was the fact that one, you're so young, um, and two, that your knowledge of the game is so great, and not just that, but the passion is burning within you. But before we head into that conversation, um, aside from your age, where where did this what sparked this in the beginning?
What sparked the commentary? It's a long story here. I think
We have
not too
time.
long ago, but like in recent times, super sports super sports schools started allowing children to like do, or school kids to do like commentary for their schools, when I was still in high school. And I knew a lot of those people, and it's like it didn't sound like how it's supposed to sound. That's the thing. It's like yesterday they're talking and cheering on their mates, but it wasn't like how it was supposed to be. Like I wouldn't expect him to be like the sound of like your Peter Jerry and your Jim Becklin, John Champions, or your Pierce Matthews, the Springboks. But I don't know. I just always thought that I could do it too, maybe even better. Which is a funny thing because I never liked hearing the sound of my own voice. And then one day I was in Kersney last year at the football tournament that they have in like the third term. I was there with my mate Will Cox because it was his school. He went to Kersney, and and there was no commentators there for like the main field. And one day I was like, Amelia, come, like let's just go to like commentary, like let's just do a game. And I'm like, are you sure? Luckily enough for me, because I went to Clifton College, after that game was Clifton about to play. So that game was, I think it was like some urban team from Eastern Cape. I did a game. I did it with him, but then he was having fun. I was more like, just trying my luck. I was taking for fun as well. But I think the person who gave me the chance, Vuma Kunene, he saw potential in what I was doing. And then after we put the mic down, the game ended. He's like, please can you like do the next game? Next game was my school, Clifton College. So I knew all the players, I knew all the boys. All I had to do was just read like the team sheets from like the other team. Luckily for me, I'm blessed for like remembering names quickly, sharp on the job. It's not easy for commentary. I still struggle at times, but I managed to grasp it quickly. Where Clifton unfortunately lost, but I put in a standout where people started reposting that game on like TikTok, and there was a star player named Rocco Rocha who pulled off brilliant pieces of skill, and like that YouTube clip got over like 500,000 on TikTok, etc., etc. Then I realized, okay, wait, maybe I am decent at this. So then from there, that following day, it was like the closing of the tournaments. Kersney dismissed all the commentators, and they let me like round it off. So there was like a lot of pressure, especially because I think like the sponsors came, like the parents came, and I pulled it off standout. And from there, I just caught SuperSport Schools' attention.
Were you one of those kids while you playing FIFA with your mates or on your own? Did you switch off the sound and commentate as you were playing on your own? Were you one of those guys?
No, no. I'm a learner at the end of the day. I'm a learner. So I took pride in hearing other people doing it. So like obviously when you play the FIFA and you hear like the commentary of the people playing, I don't know, commentary just brings an extra excitement for like spectators' points of view. No one wants to watch any sporting game and it's quiet. You just hear the ball being hit or the passes being made or the tackles. You only hear someone storytelling, narrating, So no, like from like your FIFA or like professional games, I enjoyed hearing them play. It's what brings the game alive. And I guess because I didn't land up being a I was a good athlete, never a like top tier athlete. There's like a hidden passion within me to be like, the way I commentate, it feels like I'm also still playing, even though I'm just narrating the storyline and trying to make it as cinematic as possible.
Let's talk about the event. I was blessed to witness you do your craft. It's the Enter Knockout Challenge, this year's KZN edition thereof. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the Shooting Stars and was it Durban Ladies that you were commentating?
Was it the
Um,
ladies' game?
it was a ladies' game. I remember standing next to you. But I know you commentated the the men's final as well. There was a lot of games happening.
Um,
And you had an opportunity to not you going through your notes to make sure which one it was.
here's a
But
famous book, right?
I remember thinking this Lighty is good. I have no idea who these players are in front of me. I wonder what he did. Because you were calling out names, you weren't calling out numbers. You weren't saying number 3 is passing the ball to number 9. That's not what you were doing, and that's what average, not average, most SuperSport Schools commentators do. They call out the numbers. You called out each one's name. Talk us through the process you go through to prepare yourself for, let's say, 80, 90 minutes. Just talking on that game.
In the Indian tournament, it was a heavy tournament because it was like the first tournament where I got the green lights from like my bosses of like Johan Smith and Bridget Key, because that game, because the final was like put on TV and I was blessed to do it with Sibonelo Zulu. So he's like the face of KZN football for commentary. But in terms of like the process of like names and stuff, I'm truly blessed to have like a supportive family. As you saw, I had my brother with me that day. My normal manager was not around; she was traveling. But I had my brother there with me in Dobego Makanya, and he would write down the names for me on the sheet because there was a mix-up with like the players' names and numbering. So then I'm like, no, I know some of these players. The numbers on these players don't make sense. So then I told him to just please write it down nicely in the book. And he wrote it down so beautifully for me. And obviously he would like coach me in the ear to like who has the ball, who doesn't have the ball while he's like financing on the ball. But like in terms like when he's not there, it's really hard because in commentary you have to give it your all every single time. You have to thrive under pressure. If you fumble, it's like 20, 50,000 people across the country or maybe even international listening to you. Mistakes happen, but you don't want to be remembered as that guy that makes a mistake. I remember I got great advice from an older person saying, if you make a mistake, own it, but don't talk about things you don't know. But the whole process of like grasping numbers and players with people you don't know, it's not an easy thing. Probably you wouldn't know, but like by the end of the first half, that's when I have like a decent summary of who gets the ball, who doesn't. get the ball, you know, like who are like the active players. You look for like your captains, your star performers, your star scorers or your star passers, and then like your team players. Your team players, when you like integrate them into your commentary, like you call them, like let's say it's rugby, and I say for an example, Likona Finger, he's a star player. You see number 12 for Lions, and then a team player I would say is like uh, maybe like a Ciso France in like fly half. I'm just saying like all athletes that I know, but it's not an easy process, but you try your best and you give your best. It's an improvisation. I'm lucky that I've never been scared of the stage to try and fail. I guess that's where my devoted confidence to say names quickly on the job clicked in.
That was my next question. To sort of, I think there's nothing easy about commentary. There's nothing easy about talking about something that you, because there's a lot of stats that goes into a game. It doesn't matter what sport you're doing. But what is the most difficult thing you've had to recover from?
Most difficult thing I had to recover from was, believe it or not, my best commentary, my favorite sport to commentate is rugby. Rugby purely because it's fast paced and there's never not something to talk about. And the biggest day of my life for commentary was on my birthday this year before the Engine Cup, where it was Kersney and Michael House, where I gave off the best commentary of my life. And it was actually voted like game of the weekend. You know, Kersney, Michael House, Kersney coming off many losses, etc., and they win on the Old Boys Day on my birthday as well, and I get to have the privilege to commentate that. After I begged and I pleaded for my bosses to give me the green light for that, it happened. What was unfortunate is that that weekend was also Michael House. It was also another fixture happening where they didn't have like the SuperSport caravans. So after giving off the best commentary of my life, I also had to fight through adversity in the sense of the sound box wasn't working throughout the whole day. So the only way I could be heard on commentary was to scream throughout. But I tried to scream in the sense of the sound output comes out better, you know. And I put off a standout game. I lost my voice. Maybe I went a bit melodramatic, but a lot of views loved it. A lot of Kersney Old Boys loved it. Kersney parents. I had many people who actually flew down to come meet me and see me and be like, that's a great commentator right there. Many sports Instagram accounts posting me. On the Monday, I got back home because that fixture was on a Saturday. My manager, she sits me down and she's like, Emile, I understand it was your birthday. You had a great time, but you made a mockery of commentary. I cried. I kid you not, I cried. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then she's like, she understands that I had to be creative in my commentary so that it could be heard. I didn't want, so it could be heard so people can enjoy the entertainment, but I made it too much about myself that day. And it still hurts a bit to talk about it because since post commentary after that, I still think about that day. Where like, I don't want to say the specific which school, but one of the schools made a complaint where they said he made commentary a bit hip hop. At first, I didn't understand until like discussions were made where I made it too much about myself, where I was talking constantly. I didn't give the game enough time to we're like, there's that bit of silence where you can hear the impacts of the tackles or like the passes or like the chip when it's like up in the air. I was just commentating like nonstop. So then I cried, and then she said, I understand the mistake you made. You will learn from it, but it was, you put your bosses in a tight position. And when I think about that, it really hurt my heart, considering it was my special day. It was a beautiful Kersney day. Kersney's always treated me well. And sounding difficulties is what costed me enjoying the moments a bit better. But, I had to bounce back. I cried it out. Where I was like, I just got signed to SuperSport like properly. And now I might be losing my opportunity to go as big as I can. So I'm luckily I had Johan Smith and Bridget Key who gave me my chance at redemption. I did Kloof, did like the whole Kloof tournaments on the main field, being successful. Got blessed with Engine Cup with Sibonelo Zulu. And that was my recovery, to learn from my mistakes, to have that composure. Because when you're commentating, you're also a fan. When you're commentating, you're enjoying the game with everyone else. Like, yes, you're talking about it, but you're also watching it for the first time. It's not like you know what's going to happen. Like you don't know if someone's going to do a skillful move, or like a 40-yard pass, or like to do like a drop kick, or like hit it for six in cricket. So I think that was my hardest point, where I gave it my all. I lost my voice. People, my best friends, I got a lot of following on all social media platforms from that game. As a star player named Valentino Langi, who could have scored 4 tries, 3 were disallowed, but he scored a brace. He had a standout. So I wasn't too devastated, but it was like a learning experience, like a very humbling one. Maybe my ego got the better of me that day. I had to tone it down, work hard, work from scratch. And I'm like, I'm good, but I'm not the best yet. In my heart, I'm the best, but not everyone knows who Amida Duma is.
I mean, you are quite young, and I think that's something I admire about you, is the fact that, um, despite how young you are, from the short time that I've had the opportunity to just chat with you, you level-headed. And that's a great experience for you. And I think for anyone, I mean, I myself have been through it. I'm still going through it. There's no day where you don't learn about the craft that you're so passionate about. Um, and I think props to you for absorbing as much as you can, and working as hard as you can. But I mean, let's talk about just um, the support. I know your mom supports you a lot, and she's super proud of the work that you do. But I mean, just talk about the support from the friends. And I know you spoke a lot about some of your bosses at SuperSport Schools as well. Um, how 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 have they been helping you through this process at such an early age?
How have they been helping me? Yeah, young 19-year-olds are still finding themselves, but I found myself, I'm content with what I want, where I don't want to just be the best. I don't want to just do. I don't want to be like the best commentator in the country, but hopefully the best in the world across all sports, not just rugby, football. Be invited for Ryder Cup, be invited for Wimbledon, PGA squash. But in terms of like support system, my mom is a remarkable lady. You obviously know her. You work with her at East Coast Radio, and she's also my manager. She lays it as it is. She knows that I'm a young man and I have the maturity to handle the scrutiny she may give me. She's an intimidating lady. You see her in the office. I get backlash on that, but I was also taught to be humble. So I have like my grandparents, my granny, my grandpa, my aunts. I have an uncle where he doesn't tell me he loves me, but like in like a guy action, he directs me in the way of life. My brother Ndobego, my best friend Ebenezer, another good mate of mine, Levi Wilcox. So yeah, like they just keep me grounded. Also, like super sports school crew members, like when they tell you you're good, like I understand I'm good, but when you put the mic down and when it's halftime and you go grab that energy for that voice to recover, and they just like pause their camera and they're like, your stuff, like you're fantastic. It also gives us a vote of confidence. So there's like Mobi, there's Zuma, there's Keith, like that entire super sports crew that I've worked with, and also like the backing of my bosses to let me carry on going and going and going, to let me learn to be the best that I can be. And I was also taught by Mr. Simon when I played first team rugby for a short period of time to have grit and resilience, really. And most importantly, to always believe in myself. For me, it's a mentality of it's this or nothing. Yes, there's love and guidance from family and friends, but at the end of the day, it's like your mind against your mind. How badly do you really want it? So I have to stay humble, bless Lord Jesus Christ, and look at my mom every single day, come back dragging her feet, tired, sluggish, after trying to rack up millions for East Coast Radio. And I'm like, I have to take inspiration for that lady looking after three kids on her own. I can't stop not trying because she's never limited me to strive for the stars.
I can stand for the work that she does. She's looking good, but like looking stressed. I'm not gonna lie, and I know she's here. I know she's in the audience and watching. I'm gonna catch it when I get to work. It's good. I'm not going in this week. But if you're just joining us, welcome. This is our YouTube channel, Sandman Sport. We are chatting in the locker room with young superstar in the making, SuperSport Schools commentator in football and rugby. I know him as a football commentator. I'm going to bring in my co-host as well. Um, if you don't, make sure to follow us across all social media platforms. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, or X at Sandman Sports. Mohamed Sakin joining us, our co-host. We're chatting to Amile Duma about his journey as a youngster in the world of commentary and telling us the story in the world of sports. I'm going to hand over to you, Mohamed, because I know you have plenty to ask.
I'm going to try and have plenty to ask this time because I'm sure you've covered quite a lot. Greetings to everyone. Apologies for joining late. The girls got to get clients, you know, the driver. But anyways, Mr. AD, as I would like to call you. Of course, we've had conversations before about a lot, your journey in commentating, your journey in the sporting industry as a whole. But I think from me, I don't know if Ufaida has already asked, but what actually attracted you to wanting to do sporting content in the context that you do?
What attracted me when growing up as a kid, every day, 5:45 in the morning, Sky Sports News. Every day. Before school, that car does not leave until I've watched at least 30 minutes of Sky Sports News before I head off to school, you know? So, you know, when you like watch these people, but like as a kid, everyone wants to be a doctor or a policeman. So you don't know how to address it to your parents that I think I could do that. I think I could talk about sports. You know, so that's always been an attraction. And then when ESPN eventually dropped here on TV, Stephen A. Smith, he's a guy I always used to see on like my Instagram reels or like my TikToks. And I'm like, I like that guy. Like, I feel I can do that too. So I think that's where my little secret for wanting to be in front of the camera, for my voice to be heard and recognized. And also took inspiration from Kevin Hart, where we first knew him as a comedian. He elevated from a comedian to a movie star, you know, someone who just started off small from like comedy. It's like no one really expected comedy to blow up the way it has over the years, but he made it where like it's not just comedy, now it's movie stars to businesses and businesses and businesses. You know what I'm saying? So looking at like true American icons like that and being like, I'm not scared to put my face in front of millions and speak to my utmost best.
I think I can stand for the fact that you're not scared to speak in front of a lot of people because for those that are watching, UAD oozes confidence. He oozes greatness. He oozes this, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And I think in the sporting industry, it works a lot because it's a very factual place. It's a sporting industry where you have to know indaba zakho, you know, and if you do not, then it's time for you, boss, because I was sitting back hey, what is going on here, what are the statistics looking like for this player, so forth and so forth, and it's very important to know that. So I want to then find out, when you are diving into getting that information, what is your secret as to keeping it in your head, and when you're commentating, not having to always look at a page or refer to whatever notes that you have made, just so that you can be in the moment. What does it for you? See that
Instincts
confidence?
and
See
instincts
that
and
confidence?
imagination. Nah, it's instincts and imagination. It's to not overthink. you know how good you are, you know the quality. Like I remember at like the Kersney Easter Festival tournament, we had at the primary school game. Um, Obviously, it's like I did the entire primary school games, so like all 15, 16 games. And people from like overseas were like watching and tuning in overseas, Joburg. Obviously, like the kids were there and they were probably on business trips. But on that last day, when it was like Glenwood Prep against Chelsea Preparatory, I had people from England. I had like a family from England come down and they were asking, "Hey, where's Amelia Duma?" Because like over like the streams and commentary, and they'd come down and they'd greet me. Like grown men coming down with Porsches and Aston Martins. I don't want to put color into it, but like grown white men, hats off and like, sir, that's a big thing. And I had a beautiful lady named Tiana Swart who handed me off like team sheets that day. Her her son AJ was playing remarkable player, remarkable athletes, one to look out for in the future. Where she helped me out with like the team names, because I've come to realize is that mistakes happen in this industry with like numbering of athletes' names. Mistakes happen where it's like I don't know these people. I get you on the day. Sometimes it's like I get a call today and it's like Amelia, tomorrow you have a game. I don't know the people. I don't know the athletes, the coaches. That's like information I have to do like as quickly as possible. So I just learned to, before games and fixtures, I talk to coaches, talk to players, or talk to coaches honestly and tell me, between you and me, for your captains, your star players, your star athletes, the other players I'll talk about and ring in as much as I can. And I've come to notify that I'm not at the professional level yet. Hopefully over the next few months or like early next year, I'm there. I have a stadium, I have the qualities, the attributes, the vocabulary for it, so to just do the hard graft from scratch, like my grandparents and my grandparents, etc., etc. They used to go do like the hard labor, the grind, 10 minutes before the game. Be like, do not start that stream before I'm ready. And I write and I write and I write. And as games and minutes go on, you see the people that get the ball, the athletes doing the quiet job, the extra running, the extra tackles. So it comes from a lot of learning experience. That's where I would say my ability to grasp names into my head came from.
I think I can agree that, again, we're just losing confidence here. That's two. So that comes into play as well, because if you are able to speak to our viewers and be like, I know what I do, my vocab is on point, just an icebreaker. Also, you mentioned Aston Martins and Porsches. What's your favorite car?
A Ferrari 458, but
No,
I'm more of a watch guy.
no.
I'm more of a watch guy. So if any watch industries are watching, Piaget, Hublot, Tag Heuer, Rolly, I'm here. I'm here. But no, it's a Ferrari 458 or a Rolls Royce, and a beautiful car that I really want to buy my mom is a Range Rover of her choosing. I'm not a car guy, but my favorite cars is whatever my mom aspires to have, so I can get it to her over the next year or so.
You're a car guy now. You know us, so that's how it's gonna be. But just on the note of you obviously having these plans, you want to get your mom a car, and I'm sure that there's so much more that you want to do for your mom, for the people that have supported you. And then talking about support as well, how is it important for you to make sure that you show up for them, but in essence, they also feed the career that you are into, and they also been there from the get-go. You have been into sports. I'm sure it wasn't very hard breaking it to your mom that this is what you want to do. So they know it's your brand.
Yeah.
So how important is it for you to make sure that you keep your supporters in check as well as keeping yourself in check? Because that's also very important. We don't want to be people pleasers as much as we have to in this sport.
It's really not easy, because at the end of the day, we all human. Like when we have our highs, we have our highs, and when we have our lows, we just want to disappear, recover, regroup. So in terms of like keeping viewers in check, you try as much as you can, but ultimately I say it like this to myself in my head. I'm like, Amelia, listen, when this mic is on and when they count you in for you to do your commentary and to say and do your piece, you're going to do a standout job. So whenever they see your page or that you posted something, or when they look at you at your 6'3", dark, tall, etc., 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 that voice rings in their ear. They don't forget about you, even if you're not active or active. So to just give off memorable moments, like I remember I did the Kloof tournament where I actually watched a telenovela the day before. I can't remember which one it was. No, I was watching. There's this famous commentator named, I think, Reggie Ndlovu, when I was doing commentary notes, and he said something along the lines of "Iskhat siyahama inkomo efasiwe." Like those little catchphrases that stick into the head. So I think that's my objective to like say catchphrases where I know they won't forget that one, so they can kind of forgive me if I've disappeared for a bit to like regroup, to like where they don't know what's going on behind the scenes or why I'm not active, or the fact that they just see I'm losing followings just because of like non-activity. But yeah, that's I would say, just to make memorable catchphrases so they remember me, so that when I come back, they're like, okay, he's back. What game is he doing?
And then they get excited also again.
They have to. They have to. Come on
They
now.
have to for me.
They have to.
They have to for me. So, you mentioned earlier that obviously you're good at what you do. You love it. You feel that you're an international superstar. We'll
Not yet.
fact check that just a bit later. But there's about 4 months left until next year, January. And you mentioned that in the next coming months, you obviously want to prepare to be at the level that you want to be. When did it click for you that this is day one and I'm going to start working towards that goal of being that international sportcaster, of being the guy that people go to for sports content? Because this little birdie knows that there's something in the pipeline for you. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, there are a few things in the pipelines that I can't disclose, but I guess it's a discipline thing where you just have
Mm-hmm.
to remember to stay sharp, to stay on points. Like maybe I haven't commentated in a while, but like I'm doing content, like I'm talking to the squash organizations overseas on letting me go to Britain or France or Egypt for like their squashing tournaments, etc., etc. So just in days where I'm quiet, I'm harnessing my craft so that when I'm back in action, when I'm back on the loop in commentary, it's firing from all cylinders, something new, something different. Because if I'm being real with you, my goal is to do the next Olympics, and most importantly, the next Springbok, well, the next Rugby World Cup in Australia, and me getting the privilege to wear like a a South African representative blazer, speaking on the likes of, hopefully, if Sia Kolisi is there, or the stars of tomorrow, your Fasi or your Sasha Feinberg and Gomenzulu.
Okay, so I'm gonna give it to Fahira. She has a bit to ask, and I'm still gonna follow up with a question because there's a tough one that I want to get your head on a bit.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, we are in the middle of the rugby championship. We come off the back of the All Blacks clash. We're heading into the second test. It's it's what has been dubbed not their best game against a team like the All Blacks. I know ahead of the clash on Saturday, my words were, I don't think the Boks are gonna win. And if they are going to win, they're gonna win it by 3 points and they won it by 4. Um, as a rugby guy, obviously you must have sat and analyzed the game beforehand, just looking at the lineup, and then post the game, right through the game, either been on the edge of your seat, um, either been upset with some decisions made during the clash. I know there were plenty. But I mean, I want to narrow it down to a specific player, the likes of Sacha you've mentioned as well. Sacha Feinberg Gomez Zulu has just been an outstanding star for the Springbok squad. Prior to that, for the under-20 Springbok team. He's led that team really well, and I think that's probably one of the competitions, the championships, the under-20 championships, where we saw him stand out and essentially sort of lay that foundation for him as a senior Springbok. Wasn't his best performance on Saturday. It was quite difficult to witness here and there, not entirely. Do you think he's going to make the team this weekend at all, whether it's starting lineup or the bench?
Do I think he's going to make the team? Absolutely. On the basis of he does not lack in confidence. It was actually my uncle Fana, who used to tell me, he told me 2 years ago, like, there's this guy named Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu, he's going to make Springboks one day. Like, he can kick. Like, because my uncle and my dad, like, they're like critical sporting thinkers. We're like, there's no excuse, you know, like, you get paid a lot of money. It's either you perform or you go sit on the bench or you rethink your career choices. So he used to say, like, because we haven't, I don't know if there's any rugby players that have like a 90% kicking average, but he used to say that he has it in him, you know, to like be on that stage. And I was working at the bar here in Cotswold Downs Golf Estate, best golf estate in the country. I was watching the game and I watched him. Whenever the ball got to his hands, I had security. This is a general. He's a fighter. He's quick. He's fast. He's young, but the team trusts him. And I think what Rassie has noticed is that he's a complete 10 or 15. If he's not playing at 10, he can play at 15. He's a player that just wants to be out there to play for his country, deliver peak performances. Yes, he had his moments against New Zealand, but do not forget that is the second greatest rugby team known to man, New Zealand. Sometimes when it's a David against Goliath fixture, you're allowed to have a few fumbles, but he recovered beautifully. He had beautiful exit kicks, beautiful kicks for poles, beautiful in-game play, and most importantly, he finished the game. There was a point where early on, Fassi was, unfortunately, got a yellow card. Springboks were 14 men, conceded a try. But he was there dictating pace, dictating tempo, and it just shows emphasis on how the Springboks, a bunch of old men, are now noticing the future superstardom within this young man and the potential he has to one day be a captain for South Africa. Hopefully one day when I have the great privilege of commentating a Springboks game, that I get to commentate on Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu, because he is the future of rugby. You, Mike.
I'm Mike.
Mike.
It's a tradition for Fahira to forget to unmute her mic.
I clicked on the wrong mic. So we have 3 pins, right? Because Andre Pollard, I mean, we don't need to explain anything about Andre. Obviously
Clutch.
Sacha, and then we have the infamous Mani Libok, who a lot of conversation has been around. Sacha is now a first choice over Libok. Do you think that Libok is completely gone? Do you think his days in the Springbok squad are done?
Impossible. Impossible in the sense of Springboks are now into a phase where their reliance players are now coming to age. So it's all about bringing in the next bunch, you know, the next upcoming performance. My favorite rugby player, Peter Steph Toits, that's a warrior. I'm going to cry when he retires, you know. But like, no, Mani Libok, he's done it on the grand stage. You saw when I think Springboks played, I think Scotland, and he gave a no-look cross kick and found, I think it was Cheslin or Orensa, you know, for a try. He's still young. He has the in-game ability. What he lacks, unfortunately, is just the kicking part, which is something that's fixable. You know, luckily Springboks have a lot of squad depth in terms of kicking. We've seen Faf in the past take up responsibility to pick up his socks. Sometimes he kicks and he makes it, sometimes he doesn't. We have had Chid and Colby kick, makes it, he doesn't. So Marnie Leibach's days are not over. There's also Damien Willemse in the squad. It's a vast, talented squad where, although they are competing for positions, they understand that there's a brotherhood and unity there. So with that being said, if the only criticism is his kicking for poles, he can recover. He's a grown man playing at the highest level. Kicking for poles is something he'll overcome as time goes on. He's made many in his life. It's not like he hasn't made any. He's made a few and many in his life. So it's something he can recover from. I do see him in that squad for the next Rugby World Cup. God forbid, touch wood, no injuries, etc., etc.
The Springboks are like Manchester City. We've
No
got
way.
two first teams.
No
City
way.
has two
You
first
did
teams.
not just say
Springbok
that.
has three first teams.
Nah, that's very true. It's very true. I think people from overseas, specifically New Zealand, I'm saying New Zealand on the basis of I'm family friends with Roy Hawker, who is a commentator, or was a sports commentator in New Zealand, and used to be a Sevens rugby player. You know, so I had a meeting with him May, April, and he emphasized on the fact that World Rugby is now looking to change the rules of rugby, where they feel like Springboks are bullying, and too many rules go into the favor of Springboks due to the fact that in our country, our boys eat, we feed them. Like, this is pure African nutrition food for like your Englishmen, your Afrikaners, your Zulus, your Xhosa, etc., etc. Like, when you hit biceps, it's like you see it covers all of this. But I think Springboks will be okay. Many nations overseas are crying and complaining that there's too much dominance, but no matter what rule you change, with the type of country we have, and like spiritually, and the fact that when Springboks play, the person across the street you may not know, but for those 80 minutes, he's your best friend. When the Springboks are playing, a person across the streets, you don't know him. All you know is that he's in your country wearing a Springboks jersey. You guys are best friends for that 80 minutes, and friendships are built after that. And I think what those players understand, and the coach Rassi and other executive coaches and other professional rugby, South African rugby players that have been made the squad, have noticed is the fact that they're fighting and playing for a country where, for us, it's rugby or nothing. If we had it our way, many rugby fans would put Rassi as our president more than anything, and no one would dispute it. So Springboks dominance is something that I think will continue for a long period of time. We had the under-20 rugby championships, where I have a few good friends there, like your Likona Finga, and there's a few other talented bunch like Jorenzo Julius, vice captain of the Springbok side, who are going to come through the ranks, might even make that first team Springbok side. There's just a lot of squad depth and a lot of hunger to want to continue the winning legacy for the Springboks. So we will be fine for years to come.
AD, you obviously do a lot of analysis and speak to a lot of players, a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches, management, you name it, you have it in your checklist. I think this one comes back to obviously your journey in sport and how it then enhances or affects your personality. So in that, how do you think it shapes you as a sportsman to have the personality that you have and then be able to connect with these coaches and these players? Because having a conversation with them is tense sometimes, but easing them out is very important because that face just said, yeah, not for me.
To me, we're all human. Or the fact that, as you said, I don't lack in confidence. I know myself. And I have like a respectable body frame with like my height and broad shoulders. So to me, it's like we're speaking man to man. I don't care who you are, how much money you have, your profession. You and I are still breathing, and in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, your children are going to look up to me and they're going to be like, "Did you hear what Amelia Dumas said about Sasha Fan Ngomezuli, Dad?" You know, so I think that's a mentality of just keep the respect levels, because like we're all human. And whether I get the information from you or not, it's okay. No big issue. Thank you for meeting. Thank you for your time. And I try someone else. With just being a good person is what catches people attention. And to just smile, like I don't see anything wrong with just smile. Like the way I met the both of you, like I remember I met Mo by just saying, you hustle, like you're going up and down, you're pacing, you look very important. And I'm saying Fahida here, she was also hustling, etc., etc. And I just smiled to you both and I just said, you guys are in some sort of media. I'm not sure what, but I can feel your presence. And it all started with a simple smile at the end of the day.
Yeah, it did start with a simple smile and try and find out whether you have your meal ticket or not, because that day was a lot. That day was a lot. But then this is where I want to also pick your brain a bit, because again, with the analysis, there's a lot that you look at. I want to find out from you, in your own words, amateur and professional athlete. What is the gap between the two, and how can one then get from amateur to actually become professional? You're good at what you
Mhm.
do. You've been an amateur before when you were still learning. So now you're spacing into a place where you're becoming an international superstar, an international sport broadcaster, and there's a difference, between those two ADs, if I can put it in that sense. So when it comes to an athlete, what is and what makes an amateur different from professional, and how can that gap be closed?
How badly do you really want it?
Mm.
It's a mindset, attention to detail. You have to be obsessed. I don't know how else to put it, but I think now super sports schools have like brought in like, or like giving other schools and like people a try with like commentary and stuff. But when you look at athletes, obviously when you're in high school, there are like those athletes where you see like they special. Like this year I did Northwood against Kersney, and there was this player named Sia Nkosi. He played 13 that day. He only got the ball once and probably did one step and had explosiveness. And I didn't see him again. And I'm commentating that game and I have a TV in front of him. I look at the TV, he's already gained 20 meters. It's a type of thing of, for an athlete, it's a mentality. Like, yes, there's amateur and the pressure to get to that university, or get to the pressure of making it under 20, under 21, Springboks or Sharks or Western Province or Springboks. It's a thing of self-belief in oneself. Even now, the way I would say for myself in commentary, I just say I'm a sports commentator. I've never been an amateur. From the get-go, I say I'm a professional sports commentator, and there are certain people I want to beat and be the best at in the world, not in South Africa. South Africa is so small in the
Mm.
entire world. That's the thing, just that hunger and desire. And luckily, God blesses those who put in the work and the efforts and suffer and to have resilience. What the upcoming 2000s or like my generations is lacking is resilience. Too many people make excuses, but like what they forget is the world doesn't care. The world doesn't care if you come from inheritance. That inheritance can go. Money comes and goes. If you come from poverty or from not being noticed, you put yourself in the limelight. We're in a generation where grabbing someone's attention is not hard. Making silly videos, etc., etc. But the gap between professional and amateur, it's finer detail. That's
Mm.
the difference. It's finer detail.
Talking about final details, nah, what are your final details when it comes to the plans in the pipeline?
In terms of final details, luckily, I'm fortunate enough because chats went well where I am blessed and privileged to now be with Luxury Sports. So that's like now a brand I'm going to be taking with my heart wherever I go, when I go to France and wherever and ever overseas. I can't disclose for what or where yet, but I'm a luxury sports guy and I want to grow that beautiful brand, but also keep working with super sports, not super sports schools or something. You see like the likes of Andy Capastango, someone I did commentary with at Kersney, a veteran that has done Springboks, but he still comes down, does high school games, just for love of commentary. So I want to take Luxury Sports with me, led by you, Mom Motisa King. Thank you for the opportunity yet again. So that's me. Funny enough, actually, I didn't know who Andy Campastengo was after that commentary game with Kersney Northwood. When I
Mm-hmm.
got home after like the pictures were posted, they're like, "Wow, Amelia, you really made it to life." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You don't know who that is?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "This guy is the one that commentates the Sharks. He's done Springboks, Amelia. Wake up, he's done Springboks." I'm like, "Whoa."
Yeah, in
So
it.
like that's still a good game that happened, and I got to do it with a legend. So it's a type of thing of wherever I go, just still do it for passion, but carry Luxury Sports with me and in my heart.
I am blessed to obviously have spoken to you about the plans that are going to go into sports luxury and all that. And I think it's a conversation that we had for a very long time, over a lengthened period of time. And I'm grateful, one. So thank you to you too. Big ups to you for actually giving the underground gangs the biggest place to actually showcase what sports is actually about and creating that culture. Before we close it off with Ufaida, I know you've had a lot of things that you've said in the chat, and they can take a lot of viewers, that is, as to how to stay motivated, how to stay confident, how to ooze confidence. But I just want your words, as a motivation to someone who is listening, or that young boy or girl who's out there wanting to be a commentator as well. What do you have to say to them?
What do I have to say for the upcoming commentators of the future?
Given
Be
that they don't
prepared.
beat you.
Be prepared for criticism. Be prepared for tears. Nothing comes easy. Nothing in life ever comes easy, but getting the attention and the respect from like those people that are already in that industry. Because Super Sports it's the most thriving into sporting. It's the number one sporting entertainment industry in Africa.
Mm,
So it's not a child's play. Like you're walking into an industry where legends and respectable people run and work there, and you want to grab their attention. You better be special. There's no nice way of putting it, but to just work hard to. If you really wanted, you practice on your craft. I don't read books. I'm good at reading, hence comes to the articulation. But I've like a word,
mm,
like a vocabulary word app on my phone where just like every hour or so regular words come out, or like words just pop up on my screen, or like talking to people, like maybe just like checking up on someone, how was their day? When you build conversation with random people and you look after yourself and like you exercise, you build confidence in oneself. You build
mm.
confidence to where like when you have a mic, yes, you're talking into a mic, but it doesn't ring in your ear that there's 50,000 people looking at the stream. What you know is that you are telling a story and you're going to enjoy the game. And as for how you did, your crew members will tell you how you did. Honestly, point blank. If they give you the thumbs up, the people back home really enjoy it.
Again, it's confidence for me. Very cute, very demure, very mindful, very,
Ah,
very
come
mindful.
on
Not
now, come
funny.
on now.
Okay, so just again, before we let you go, you mentioned that there are some commentators internationally that you would like to beat. Can you name one of them for us? Because I'd like to put you up to that challenge. I want to see it happen. I know it's going to happen.
Matthew Pierce, the one who does the Springboks, he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Jury, he's the greatest sporting commentator of all time. That just tells you how deep I'm willing to go with this. And it's not delusion, it's the fact of I'm a pure believer on you make your own luck, but like humbly, and you keep quiet, you grind, you work hard. Like but no, there's too many. Remember, I don't look up to many sporting commentators, but the ones that I say are the ones who stand out to me. The others that I guess I didn't say, respect and credits to them, but I will catch them sooner rather than later. is my mindset going towards life.
That's a big statement to make for a big guy. So I understand why it is that you're saying that. And I think from my end, obviously everyone who's watching can hear that you're very articulate. You know your story, you know where you want to go. And for that, I'm just gonna say big ups, man. I think, like you said, South Africa is a small, small world. It's a small place, and you have many plans. You have many places that you want to be at, and we're just here watching. There's a popcorn. Okay, I'm not, because we're gonna be working together, so I can't
Yeah,
necessarily tell the popcorn. But I'm just saying, big ups to that. It's a lot for you to understand that and have that conversation with yourself, that this is where I want to go and this is where I'm going to end up. And it doesn't end there; it always goes on. So congratulations, well done, all the best, good luck. Luck is for losers, right? God bless.
you need a bit of luck in your life, I would say, here and there.
Here and there, ne?
Agree.
Here and there.
Bye, over
So
to
I
you.
have a little bit of a challenge for you before we let you go. Um, we know, I think another superstar. I think we're pushing all the youngsters in this one. I think it's because of you, but a young superstar that has been. I think we saw him shine with the Team South Africa at the Paris Olympics this year in the relay, getting silver for Team South Africa. Bayanda Walaza. He's known for the not just his speed, but the weird way he runs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put up a video, and with that video, we're gonna challenge you to do commentary. I think
Okay.
it's the 100 meter. Yes, it is the 100 meter. He got gold in that. He's been getting gold in everything he's been challenged to do. So I'm gonna put that video up, and as soon as it starts, the stage is yours.
Sure.
Sure.
No pressure. No pressure. Walaza's off. Walaza kicks off. Oh my word, it's Walaza. He's in lane 3. Who's catching him? Jamaica's dropping. China's dropping. Another South African. Walaza, he's touching like, oh, Walaza wins it. He takes it with that awkward dogs run of his. He rushes to the line. The young 18-year-old, he wins it. He did it in Paris. He's done it at the under 20 World Championships. Walaza, a name to remember.
Another name to remember, I think, particularly is Amile Duma, who we need to keep an eye out for and an ear out for in the near future. A rising sensation, a superstar in the making. I think the world is ready for you. With time,
I think
you only get greater.
chopping. I think someone's chopping onions. I'm gonna cry.
Stop crying. We haven't made it yet in life. We still going
No, I
far.
think
The
I
team is
think
still going
okay.
far.
I think it's just understanding and knowing that yes, we haven't made it yet, but getting to that point where you have that conversation again, where I know we're gonna make it. So that realization on its own is just like, yeah, guys, do you cry?
I'm an emotion. I have the confidence, but I'm an emotional person. Sometimes I don't cry, but you feel it sometimes. But then you're like, you're a man, you're a boy. Hey, gonna
Yeah.
be strong.
No,
You're
no,
a man of
that's
rugby, of
good. I
course you
think
can.
yeah, of course you have to in that instance. You have to.
Amile, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Like I said, a star in the making. The path for you is laid out, and you can only get better and better. Don't be afraid of failure. And I think that is the message to everyone with a dream tonight. Um, Once again, thank you for joining us, Amile Kuma. If you haven't seen him, look out for him. SuperSport Schools, rugby and football is the game. And hopefully sooner than later we'll see him at not at the rugby championships, the rugby World Cup, and the Olympic Games in LA in the year 2028. Thank you for joining us this evening. at Sandman Sport across all social media platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can
Subscribe.
watch this. You can watch this video if you caught it late. And other conversations we've had before. We are due for another conversation tomorrow evening. We are talking cricket. There's a lot happening in the world of cricket. Almost too much to chat about there. But keep a lookout for us again, as usual, between 7 and 8 o'clock.
It's date night with Sandman Sports. That's how we do it, boy. Thank you so
No,
much for
but
joining, everyone.
thank you for having me, guys. Much appreciated. God bless, and I see beautiful work happening for as me being a new member and the team to thrive, to flourish, and to win. We're in this life to have objective and goals and to smile while doing it. And I couldn't have asked for a better group of people and people behind me to soar us on to the stars and beyond.
Hmm. The stars and beyond, because you're a sky full of stars. Good night, everyone.
Bless.
Wow.